have a question. What is your favorite song and how do you connect with it? Is it when you fell in love or through something really difficult? I'm your host, Tiffany Mason. Now join me as I interview others and we take a walk down memory lane with them. Let's get lost in why that music matters to them. Turn up your radio and let's explore Memories with a Beat. Hello, Podcast Land. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Memories with a Beat. And today I have Hope Howland with me. And y'all, I don't know if I just need like some help in life in general, but I've had a couple of coaches come my way lately. And so I see that Hope is another life coach. And I do feel like every coach definitely has their niche and they definitely have something unique to offer. So while there are multiple opportunities or multiple options, I think that there is really only one for a specific person. So Hope, welcome to the podcast. How are you? Where are you? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Tiffany, thank you so much for having me. It is my pleasure to be a part of this show. I've been looking forward to this interview for weeks, actually, thinking about it. I am Hope Howland. I'm a business coach and mentor, but I do function in the life coach category, the mindset category. So I'm like a hybrid of all three. So that's a little bit about me. And anything else that you would like to know?
Are you married? Do you have kids? Have you always lived in Arizona?
I am married. I have been married to my sweet husband, Seth, for 12 and a half years. We don't have any kids, but we got a lot of plants. So
okay.
full-time job taking care of those. And every time I don't kill something, I'm kind of psyched about it.
What do you grow? What is your favorite thing that you grow? Do you grow something for you guys to eat or is it just a whole bunch of beautiful plants?
Just a whole bunch of beautiful houseplants. So it started with a fiddle leaf fig tree because it's just gorgeous inside the house. They're a little bit like finicky when it comes to keeping them alive and happy. So it started with that and I was like determined not to kill it because prior to that, I was killing it. I was crushing it. Yes. It was quite like my perfect plant was a fake plant from Target, that type of situation. But I was like determined to figure it out. So it started with a fiddle leaf fig, then moved to succulents, and now we have, I think, like 10 different house plants right now that are scattered through the place. No, we haven't always lived here in Arizona. We've lived in Montana, and my husband's from California, and I'm originally from upstate New York. We like to have adventures and move all over the place, but we've been here in Phoenix for the last 6 months.
Okay, and where in upstate New York?
Syracuse. That's where I grew up.
Okay, so we lived in Saratoga Springs.
Okay.
That's east of there, right? East of Syracuse?
Yes, it is.
Okay, north and east, right? I think?
It's east, on the eastern side, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, let me tell you something that makes me feel better about you saying that. So we've lived a lot of places, and I'll call friends from the places that we lived in, and they're like, you know that road? And I'm like, I mean, not really. And because I feel like I've had to absorb so much new information at the new places that you immediately have to delete those files so you can make space for the incoming information.
This is literally my life. This is what I say. There's only so much space up here.
That's right.
Where do you think the data's going to go? I can't remember if we have butter in the fridge. Like, what do you expect from me?
You're going to have to open the door. I don't know.
Exactly.
I like to stalk my people a little bit before I interview them. So you wrote a book. What is your book about?
Yes. My book is a personal development book for female entrepreneurs.
Okay.
And it's all about finding your worth and knowing your worth separate from your career. So for many entrepreneurs, we put our heart and soul into what we create as a business owner. We wouldn't get into this job really if it wasn't from a place of passion, and it should be from a place of passion. But when business goes ebbs and flows, ups and downs, it can easily turn into I'm a rock star, I'm crushing it when everything's high and happy, or when things are low, like I suck at life.
Yep.
And your own perception of your own worth fluctuates with your business. And we can't function as that for healthy people to create good things in the world. So I wrote a book, kind of like a guide for solopreneurs to see their worth separate from their career. It's called Inside Success.
Well, we don't get a guide for life, and we don't get a guide for children. And you don't get a guide for marriage. So at least there's a guide for being a solopreneur. Thank you, Hope.
Come on, right? You're welcome.
And that is a really important message. I have a business coach, and we talk about that in our cohort as well. It's important to separate the two.
Yeah.
I think I told you that I'm a podcast producer, and so I listen to lots and lots of podcasts and edit them and make them sound good. And one of the episodes was based on identity after loss. So a lot of people would think of a loved one after loss, but no, it could be the loss of a career. It could be the loss of your pet. It could be so many other things than just a loved one.
A friendship.
Yes. And I actually did go through that. And that was probably equally as bad as a boyfriend breakup. I mean, it was just awful. And I just longed for her.
Brutal.
It was terrible. But I think that there is something to be said. So it's a very powerful and important message that you share with everybody, Hope, is that, you give them hope.
I know. It was like I was setting you up for a perfect volleyball situation, you know?
It was beautiful.
Here for you.
And I'm sure you've never heard that before.
This is the first time. You're the first one.
Yeah, I'm pretty quick at connecting dots, so it makes sense.
Well, you know, I love that you say that because hope is very much a life message for me. And even though it is my name, it also is something that I firmly believe in. And I believe that if you can look at life not with your head in the sand or unrealistic at all, with the lens of possibility and the lens of goodness coming, which is what hope means, you can really navigate anything, you know? And so I love that you connected that. So yes, even though I love a good pun and I'm here for it, good connection.
Thank you. How long have you been a coach?
Oh, I love this question. So I have been coaching since I was 2016. So for the last 5.5 years, I went into full-time coaching in 2019 and started my own coaching company in 2020. The story is a little sporadic here and there, but in 2016, I started mentoring in a leadership capacity with a network marketing company.
Okay.
And I was mentoring and coaching them for their businesses, approximately around 100 women, give or take.
Okay.
Where the growth was at and things like that. So that's where I started. But when I wrote my website and I started tracking back, I was like, wait a minute, I've been doing mentoring since I was 19, which was 21 years ago.
Oh,
so
wow.
I've been doing this in an unpaid capacity, just kind of bubbles out of you.
Yes.
You don't realize what you're doing until you really put it down on paper.
Yep.
So, your passions follow you. What you're supposed to do in your life, it follows you. And then that's what happened to me. And it showed up in this way. And so official capacity, 5.5 years. Unofficial, 20 years.
Maybe you say getting paid 5.5 years.
Yes, exactly.
You had 15 years of exploratory. Oh, what is it when you compensate it for somebody?
Pro bono, yeah.
Yes, you were doing pro bono.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you went into the official paid version.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is the longest internship of my life. Yeah.
Of a lot of people that are listening. Yes. Well, that's really awesome. And like I said, I think that's such a powerful message, just everything that you're helping women with. And, we live such a charmed life in America that it's hard for me to remember that women are oppressed in other countries, but also really in our backyards in some relationships. So it's a really huge service that the world needs. And so I think that's awesome, Hope.
Thank you. Wow, that's meaningful.
Yeah. That brings us to a song maybe that you've chosen, or maybe it doesn't connect. We'll see. Would you share with my audience the title of your song? And then you can go right into, why you picked it or why you're attracted to it.
So the song is called Human and it's by Christina Perri. And I love this song. And I think she wrote it in regards to a relationship.
Okay.
I think a romantic relationship. I don't really know. But when it jumped out to me, it was when I was going through a fallout with a really good friend who was also a business mentor with me and another friend. So there's 3 friends, 3 besties. And this one particular person, she just decided to kind of get really nasty and ugly towards us. And it was devastating. It was a really hard time in my life. And because I wanted to be a strong leader, I wanted to take the higher road. In every aspect, I didn't talk about it. I didn't say anything about it to anybody but just me and my other friend who knew. So nobody knew that there was this huge fallout happening behind the scenes, huge drama.
So wait.
And then all of a sudden, yeah.
So you have these 100 minor surplus women following you, and somebody has obviously employed you to work with these ladies and inspire them and grow them. And there's 3 of you working together. How long do you think that you guys have been working together at this point?
Over a year. It was probably close to 2 years at this point. And there was a lot of mentoring that had happened. She was incredibly influential with other women that we were training, and she had her own team. And in the direct sales and network marketing system, there's not a whole lot of partnership.
Right.
There's a lot of like, this is my leg, this is your team, all that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And the way we operated was we called ourselves the Three Amigos, and we just teamed up and we took care of each other, and we really just were there for each other. And then it all fell apart and it all went to...
Now, were you married at this time?
Yes.
Okay. And you didn't even talk about it with your husband?
No, I'm sorry. I talked about it with my husband. He heard
Okay.
more than he cared to hear about it. Bless his heart. Yes. No, I mean, like, to the people who knew about that, who looked up to her to look up the situation, it was tough. Yeah. So thinking back on that, it was like, oh my gosh, we all had this like camaraderie, and then all of a sudden this teamwork just fell apart. And it was really devastating. It was really, really hard.
So did she end up quitting?
Mm-mm.
No.
She stayed on, but started just saying really mean things about me to her team. Yep, there was a lot of backstabbing going on. And as a person, I was like, there's like a code of ethics that we follow, and you've crossed every single line. And I just like, no, I have to take the high road. I'm not going to talk about this at all. It went on for a year, this back and forth behavior, and it was brutal. I look back on this season of my life just being like, this was somebody I thought was like my best friend. You know how Facebook shows memories? I need to just delete those pictures. It's like a breakup.
That's what I was saying.
And so when I was going through the worst bit of it with this other friend who was dealing with it similarly, we were 2 versus the 1, you know, that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
This song came, I remember hearing it and I was like, this is exactly how I feel. This is like, hey, what do you think I am? Like bulletproof? You say mean things about me. It hurts me. This is not how I want to function. But at the same time, it gave me a lot of perspective as moving through that situation. This was years ago. This was many, many years ago.
Yeah.
The business owners, we need to humanize ourselves, and we need to see other business owners as human, because there's so much bullying that happens on the online space and behind the scenes. There's so much ugly competition that happens. We're talking to a person who has heart and emotion, has dreams and passions and fears and worries, and to remember that they're a real human being and that you're a real human being, that it's okay that you feel hurt, dealt with a rejection, or you lost that job, or, you know, that you hoped something that would happen didn't happen, that it's okay. That's part of being a human being. And I say this in my book, actually, that you're a human being, you're not a human doing. So it's okay. Like, permission to be exactly how you are right now and how you feel about it. So that's what the song actually, that's the story behind it and the memory behind it. That was a falling out that didn't end the way I'd hoped it was. But, you know, you still learn from it and move on. And
yeah,
I mean, like I said, this was years ago. So now is a point where I can talk about it as a story instead of reliving the emotional heartache of it all, you know?
Well, I think that it was probably, unfortunately, a very valuable thing for you to go through, especially as a coach, because, you know, they say, like, make your mess your message.
Totally.
Not that this is your message exactly, but you've been able to go through this, work your way through it. And so then when somebody else brings it up, you already know that path.
Yeah.
Like you said, the guide that you've written. But it is like that. It's like you've already been there, done that. That's the biggest benefit of coaches in general, is that you guys have already kind of found the shortcuts. Yeah. So we don't have to go through those painful experiences, or you guys can help us through those painful experiences faster.
Absolutely.
And I thought that what you were saying about, you know, you're speaking to a human being, I think that's an important message for our youth. I think that's an important message for all of us in a professional setting. And I think it's important really for like Hollywood and stuff, right? But what I will say that my business coach says is, once you get your first couple haters, take it as a compliment that you've reached that level where now you're getting haters. People are noticing you. So she always says, take it as a compliment that you've got your first hater.
Yeah. Congratulations, you've arrived.
Yes.
I mean, this was what I dreamed of all of this time, right? It's true. And yet, I think also to not take it inward, you know?
Yeah.
People can bring all the garbage they want to your doorstep. It's your responsibility to not take it in the house.
Yep. You have ownership over that, whether you let someone get to you or not.
You have ownership of it. Yeah.
Totally. And I think it relates to what you were saying about your career is not your identity. And these ugly things that people say is also not your identity.
Correct. 100%. And I think that is a learning curve, because there's this idea that if somebody rejects you, it's not going to hurt. It's not going to sting, that you're not going to feel it, that you should just somehow be bulletproof to deal with it and, you know, be the boss babe that you're supposed to be, which is total crap. Like, you're human. Of course it's going to hurt. Of course it's going to suck. Naturally, something happened that you didn't want to happen. But at the end of the day, what are you going to do about it? How are you going to rise up? How are you going to recover? And what can you change in the future? Does that mean that this person needs to be removed from your life? Yes, 100%. Like, you That was my story. But like, even if it's just not getting the promotion you wanted or not getting the client that you thought was going to be your dream client, you're not stuck and you're not behind. Time's completely on your side.
Well, that was one of the things that we worked through with my business coach, is that she said there's a fear of success. And she said, well, what does it mean if you get more clients? And I said that it means that maybe some will fire me or like have to leave. And she's like, what does that mean about you? I had to do that too. Like, what if they reject me? What if they don't want to be one of my clients anymore? What does that mean? And learning to separate that. So I'm sure you can relate to that a whole bunch, you know, with what you do. And then maybe I should say with what you teach or what you coach. And then with what you do being a coach.
Fear affects us in so many sneaky ways. It shows up in imposter syndrome. It shows up in fear of success. It shows up with trying something new. It's sneaky. It really is. And I think there's layers of all the things. And I love that there's this life coaching aspect that affects our business, right? They're not so separate that we'd like to think they are. They're completely connected.
Yeah.
But the fear of being successful and also what that means about you, I think once you can sort out who you are, it creates a domino effect in a positive way that sorts out all these other questions, right? Doesn't mean that as you grow and go to the next level, won't have a next level challenge to work through, but you get stronger in it. And absolutely, I work with this with my clients all the time. And in fact, when they come to me and say, hey, Hope, I feel like I have a fear of success, or we uncover that in a session or something like that.
Yeah.
Many times I'll ask them, I'm like, is it really success, or is it you don't know the definition of your own success?
Yeah.
And then they'll pause and sort that out. It's a valid question. It could be success just in general, or it could be they haven't identified what success means to them.
Yeah.
You know, and the beautiful thing is it could be anything that you want it to be, you know?
I was going to say also, speaking about being vulnerable with fear and the fact that these are just regular people, you know, everyone's just trying to do their best. I just thought that I've seen a couple of entrepreneurs, they will come on and they'll say, hey, I just want to be vulnerable. I want to let you guys know I didn't hit my goals and, you know, X, Y, and Z. And I remember thinking at first, like, wow, that is so vulnerable to do that. But it's also very real to do that. And you see, like, this is a regular person with regular goals and ambition, and maybe they didn't hit it, and this is how they're dealing with it, and what can I learn from that? And I just think that that's so impressive. But also with being vulnerable, and maybe even going back to the lyrics a little bit. And I don't know, do you have the lyrics in front of you?
I do.
Are you alluding to, I bleed when I fall down, I'm only human, I crash and I break down, your words in my head, knives in my heart? Is that what you were kind of thinking about?
But also at the very beginning where she says, I can fake a smile, I can force a laugh, I can play the part. And that spoke to me because I knew that I had to, as much as I wanted to just be like, what the F? I know, stop, you know, I didn't want to allow the drama to win.
Yeah.
And so I just had to pretend that everything was fine. And I pretended for a year.
I am so bad at that. I'm so impressed. I'm so bad at that. Everyone's like, man, we can tell, you know, there's that shirt, if my mouth doesn't say it, my face will.
I mean, that's me to a T. My face needs an inside voice. I kid you not.
Yeah.
It's real. But I think there was a moment where I was like, we have work to do and I'm going to focus on that and not the drama. And I think sometimes we will experience drama. This isn't the last time I had drama, right?
Right.
But I learned a very valuable lesson that the more I give attention to it, that wins.
Yeah.
Focus on the job at hand. It doesn't mean you're stuffing emotions, but you have the safe people and the right platform and the right places.
Yep.
So I processed with close friends. Nothing was ever on social media. Nothing was ever said. It's like, what do I really want to accomplish? I want a good, healthy culture. I want honor. I want kindness. I want respect.
Yeah.
I refuse to believe that we as women can be reduced to drama. Like, come on.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do that. And that's what I chose to focus on was the job at hand. And then, you know, time went on. And then
here you are.
Here we are.
Did you share this song with the other lady that you guys were kind of on the same team?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because she was experiencing very similar things and very similar reactions. So there's the three of us. The two that out of the three that were like, what the heck is going on? This is horrible. We just lost a best friend.
Yeah.
I shared the song with her and she was like, that is so 100%. Because it was like, there's moments of just like, okay, we can get through this. We're going to get through this. It's going to get better. And so that's why the lyrics, every time I hear it now, it brings me right back to that season.
I have one song that will catch me off guard. Every single time it comes on, I'm like, ugh, and I'm kind of paralyzed for just like half a second, you know, and I'm like, okay, take a deep breath and like, okay, I can make it through the song. I'm wondering, how does that hit you when, if it just comes on, like you're in Walmart and it comes on, you're like, oh my gosh.
It hits me in a way of, remember that time? Remember how hard that was? Yeah, I remember that. Thank God it's not like that anymore.
Yeah.
That's how it hits me. That's when I know that it's pretty healed in my heart, And I literally just gave this advice to a client yesterday, talking about being vulnerable on social media. And I was like, only be vulnerable if it's healed.
Oh, yeah.
Don't share unless it's healed. And if it applies to your message, brilliant, share it, but only from a healed place and hopeful place. Otherwise, you're just uprooting, digging up. You know what I mean? Like, that's not serving any purpose. And Brene Brown says it, share when it's healed, not when it's raw, And so when I hear this song, I listened to it again this morning because I knew we were going to do this interview. I was listening to it and I was just like, yeah, that was that season. But it's not anymore. And I think that, you should heal from painful things. This pales in comparison to a lot of things that are going on in the world right now and other people have experienced, but it's still the reality of the story, right? You don't compare your story to anybody else's. It's just what you went through. And I think, when you go through something where you lose a friendship and you're disappointed and a female friendship that you had that you thought was better than it actually was, it can actually create this distrust in future relationships and friendships.
Sure.
And I'm really grateful that that isn't the case. There are times where you have to choose to trust and be vulnerable and lean into those friendships. But that's when you know that you're really doing good, that you've moved through it and it's over and it's just a memory, that you're not feeling in that place of fear anymore or worry that the same thing's going to happen again, that kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I think that's a perfect way to really wrap up the interview, quite honestly, is just on that positive note of, share once it's healed, something like hear a song that reminds you of that time. And you can go, okay, from a place of gratitude, I learned, I've moved on, I've healed, this is where I am now. I think that's a beautiful place to be for sure.
Awesome.
Well, thank you so much. I know that's very vulnerable just to share it in general. So I appreciate you doing that.
Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. It's been really, really lovely to connect with you. I love the premise of this podcast. It's so awesome.
Thanks. Thank you so much. Well, Podcast Land, I hope that this episode was music to your ears. Well, that was fun, wasn't it? You never know what rabbit holes we'll get to go down and explore. Were you reminded of anything? Or anyone? Share what it was with me in a review. Honestly, the reviews don't do me any favors other than knowing people like you are listening to this podcast. Insert cheesy wink. However, the ratings do help, so leave me 5 stars. You know you wanna. This podcast was produced by Virtual You, supporting you in all things podcasting. To connect or check me out on social media, I know you're just gonna stalk me. But see the show notes, as always, for details. Can't wait to dive into my next guest's memories with a beat. Hit subscribe now. You don't want to miss the next episode.